Hi everyone, it's Christy from EnviroStars. I am here actually in person, downtown office, Seattle, about to head out and get ready to go to get a tour from Diane of Diane's Market Kitchen. Diane is a wonderful human being who puts her soul and all of her passion into what she does, which is teaching people how to cook, how to support local businesses and farmers, and do it all with the love of community and a passion for food. Let's head out. Let's go check it out and get a tour. You ready? Let's go. Hi, how are you? We are in Diane's Market Kitchen and we're gonna get a tour from Diane. We're gonna hear about all the cool sustainability things she's doing and lots more. So let's go ahead and get started. Show us around.
Thank you. So welcome to Diane's Market Kitchen. I created this space 15 years ago. It was a Scottish kilt store with magenta walls, a closet, and a bathroom that nobody could have possibly used for its purpose. But I saw it and I kind of went, I think I can turn this into an extraordinary teaching kitchen. I didn't want to try to teach out of my home. I wanted to create a space specifically for teaching cooking classes. I had a dream and not a lot of money. So I had an architect kind of look at some of my plans and he said, yeah, I think that would work. And then I took on the job myself of being my own general contractor employee. I employed my 15-year-old son. Part of the challenge of this was it's a concrete box. And so in order to do anything, it's all about having to go into concrete and what have you. So every time I was forced to make a change because of the building itself, it turned out to be kind of brilliant. One of the things we had to do was in order to put plumbing in here, because there wasn't any, we had a saw cutter come in and they cut from where the toilet sits to where this platform now is. It was 15 feet and it wound up being 1,600 pounds of concrete and rebar that my son and I jackhammered up and dumped. At that point I said, I'm not cutting any more flooring. I know, let's build a platform and run everything for the countertop under the platform. It's actually turned out to be kind of brilliant. I actually created my own stage. I occasionally feel like I'm on a soapbox, but my soapbox happens to be this whole platform back here. When I was designing the kitchen, it was really about making sense for what I wanted to do. When I brought the plans into the health department, they're like, that's a lot of sinks. And I said, well, yeah, but I need to have a sink for people to wash their hands. If you come into my kitchen, and it's always been this way, the first thing you will hear is, nobody gets to eat or drink anything until you wash your hands. So there's a specific hand washing sink over there. But I wanted this to look and feel like somebody's home, because if you're going to teach somebody to cook in their home, why would you teach them in an industrial environment with things that they will never see? That's why I did this. There are extraordinary contributions in this kitchen from people who love and respect me. All of my pink glass up there that was given to my grandmother by my grandfather 93 years ago. I collected cake plates when I was on when I had a catering business. This whole display back here, which is probably the most photographed thing in the kitchen, was the idea from a group from McKinsey & Company, a consulting firm that came in here initially when I was very early in the business, and I was pulling jars from the top to get to the bottom, and they said, that's not very efficient. And they spent 15 minutes brainstorming ideas. This was their idea, because I said, I don't want to go through all the tile I set into concrete, so I don't want to drill. And so this was their idea, and it's brilliant. And there have been so many people that have come into my kitchen who have skill sets far beyond mine or different than mine, who've contributed their sense of expertise and advice to help my kitchen become a better space. And I am incredibly grateful. This kitchen is not just a reflection of me, it's also a reflection of the people who come into my kitchen and come into my life because of my kitchen. I love this because I can see everything, and when I'm putting a new recipe together, I can look at something and kind of go, oh, maybe I should add a little bit of this or add a little bit of that. And it only takes up 4 inches of counter space. My thing is always, if you take this home and do it at home, just tell people where you saw it the first time. We have to make sure that we acknowledge the people who contributed things to our business. So I set almost 700 pieces of tile. I hired a couple guys and we put the flooring in. I did all the painting. I built the walls around the bathroom. This is truly my place and my space, and I'm really proud of it. When I was building the kitchen, there was no place to put a water heater. So again, that's something that forced a really good decision. So I have point of use water heaters underneath every one of my sinks. And I have these little dishwashers, but the dishwashers take cold water intake and take it up to 180 degrees. So there are ways, even though you might feel like the space that you're working in is constricted, let your creativity flow. And if you do, I think you'll be inspired to create situations and solutions that are far better than what you originally planned. That's been my experience building the kitchen. The other thing that it has done that I didn't expect it to do was bring extraordinary people into my life. And I am incredibly grateful for the people who've continued to support me. My grandparents were dairy farmers in Wisconsin. I know what it means when it says, make hay before the sun shines, while the sun shines. They were MacGyvering things long before anybody else did, because on a farm you don't wait for somebody to show up to fix it, you just kind of do it yourself. So I knew if I was going to do something about food, it had to be about the producers. I'm constantly teaching because I'm a teacher. So what I wanted to do was demonstrate very transparently where my ingredients come from and to acknowledge the farmers. So when you look on my menu, it will list the farmers that provide the majority of the ingredients for that particular dish. If you come and do a class, the follow-up is a list of all the farmers that contributed their ingredients, what ingredients they were, a list of all the farmers I support at the local farmers markets and Pike Place Market, and I give you all the recipes. I'm not here to feed my ego, I'm here to feed you. There are no secrets here in the kitchen. How can you be a teacher and have secret information? That's like, I know this and isn't this wonderful, but you couldn't possibly do this at home. So that's why I've got all of this stuff out here in display. The other thing that's really important to me is making sure that I talk about conscious consumerism. For example, I found this company years ago, and these are made from fallen palm leaves. They're not cutting anything live. They contract with women in the southern part of India to go into the forest, forage for leaves that are on the ground. They take them to the factory, they cut them to size and shape them using steam. And this company has created all kinds of employment for these women in that part of India, and it's now a going cottage industry for them. The company is called Verterra, and I know they do what they say because I had a client in my kitchen who lives in that part of India, and he said, it's a cottage industry, Diane. Now all these women can support their families. So for me, it's what am I supporting with the dollars that I spend, and am I spending dollars that are kept in my local community? I really am a huge advocate of local sourcing and being transparent. Probably know that there are lots of people who are doing what is people refer to as greenwashing. They use local sourcing, organic, whatever, as marketing tools, but there isn't a moral compass behind it. There isn't that kind of commitment to really do that. They're using it as a marketing technique, not as something that's an outgrowth of their personal belief system. My visits to the market every Saturday morning are kind of like my going to church. I'm hanging out with people who believe what I believe in. They practice their beliefs every day. They understand that their lives are tied to a lot of their lives, and their livelihoods are tied to things that are completely beyond their control, and they have a sense of humor. You can't be a small farmer, rancher, or fisherman and not have a sense of humor, because if you don't, you will die. You will not survive. I love going to the farmers markets because everybody's fighting some kind of battle every single day. So we talk about our shared interests, what we're doing to support each other, how can I help you, and acknowledging the amazing work that they do. I always say, I don't do magic, I just cook. It's my farmers that do the magic, and it makes it really easy for me. In terms of my wastewater, I don't use oils in the kitchen, or I use them very sparingly. When I do have oil left in a pan, I wipe it out with a paper towel and put it in my compost. It's not going down the sink. The other thing that's really important to me is when people use my restroom, to be really clear about where anything that's generated in the bathroom goes. I try to be really careful about everything I buy and make sure that it hasn't been exposed to a whole lot of bleaches, and that they're using recycled product if they're making it, that kind of thing. I think we're doing an amazing job here in Seattle with composting. I raised my kids up on Tiger Mountain, and trust me, Cedar Grove, I was very aware of Cedar Grove compost when I was raising my kids. And for me, it's about how do we produce less waste, and what do we do with the waste that we do generate. If I store things in my refrigerator, it's in glass or it's in stainless steel, it's something that can be reused and recycled. I also believe that we can do a lot more repurposing of things. For example, my water bottles are wine bottles. I can a lot, and so I use my canning jars, as you noticed over here, for all my storage. To be honest with you, I drink out of canning jars too. So for me, it's all about, can I take one thing and use it multiple ways? Can I reuse it? Can I repurpose it? Can I do any of that kind of stuff? If there is any oil that I've used, I've got a container, a plastic container with a screw top lid, and it gets poured into there and then set next to the recycle in my commercial area, and it's marked, reused oil or used oil. Nothing goes down the sink. Again, because I built this, I am very aware of what the plumbing is, where it goes, and how it's treated once it leaves my kitchen. Because I'm a teacher first and foremost, I can find a way to hook people into these concepts without preaching. And I think if you do it with honesty, integrity, respect for the person you're talking to, that's how you change minds. Is you have to be respectful of where they're at. And you can't move somebody all the way down the continuum, but if I can move them just part of the way down the continuum, then I've done my job. I think you have to walk your talk. There isn't anyone who's worked with me or who's been in the kitchen that can say, I don't walk my talk. People often ask me, so where did this come from? For me, part of what's really important when I talk about the story of this business is to be real honest about the fact that about 17 years ago, I was fetal position on the floor for the better part of a year. I'd gone through a really difficult divorce, and I didn't get to see my children, and I was fetal position. I was absolutely devastated. And I think that we all probably go through some kind of crisis in our lives that puts us in that place. It's really uncomfortable, but if you're willing to stay in that place and have your radar up, I believe that you can become inspired. Root for inspire is inspiritus, which means the breath of God. I talk about this business and I say, the idea for this business isn't of me, it came through me. What I realized when I was in that place was, A, I'm not dead, so there must be work left to do. And what are the gifts I was given at birth? What I realized is I'm a natural teacher. I can teach and inspire, and that's a gift. And I think we've all had our lives changed by a teacher at some point in our lives. So I realized that if that's my gift, then I'm supposed to use it. And I was teaching martial arts at the time, but I knew I couldn't teach martial arts for another 25 or 30 years. But I knew I could teach about food. And because of my life background, I knew it had to be about the producers. I'm like, okay, what would that look like? I had had a catering business, and I didn't want to just feed people. I wanted to teach people how to feed themselves. So I came up with this crazy idea. Everybody said it would never work. I was a girl with a dream and no money. I tried to find financing from traditional lenders. I tried to go to the women-owned business block grant folks. Nobody, they all said, oh, this is like a restaurant, it'll fail. No, we're not going to give you any money. Took every dime I have basically and invested it in getting this business up and running. And I'm a DIY girl, which is why I said, I jackhammered, I set tile, I built walls. The ceiling took me a month to mud and feather it out so you can't see the conduit running across it. I'm a girl with power tools and I know how to use them. Had I not had to do that, start this business in that way and ask everyone I knew, hey, I'm looking for this skill. Does anybody have that? Would somebody be willing to help me with that? This business would not be what it is today. Had I just been given the money to do it, to have hire somebody to do all of this stuff. Because I had to do a lot of it, and because I had to ask for help and admit being vulnerable and needing help, that changed my life and it changed my business. Because I think ultimately the only way we can be sustainable is to be part of a community of caring people. And that's how the business started.
So last March you created a meal plan subscription and generously donated 40% of the profits to the Good Farmer Fund. Can you tell us what motivated you to do this so early in the pandemic when so much was uncertain?
I went from like March 5th at a meeting of the Waterfront Business Owners meeting saying, hey, I'm doing great, to 3 days later having people contact me and giving them refunds for private events that they'd already booked. My business went from, hey, I'm doing fine, to, oh my God, how am I going to survive? And then it went to, I know I'll be okay, but what about my farmers? So that was my first thought, is how can I help my farmers survive this? Again, nobody knew how the supply chain was going to work, what was going to happen. There was so much uncertainty. So what I wound up doing was saying, okay, what can I do to support my farmers? I can buy their product and sell it in order to generate income to give to the Good Farmer Fund. I did this huge kind of turnaround business plan where once a week on Wednesdays, I offered 4 entrees that were vacuum sealed, so you could either reheat it in a microwave or a pot of boiling water, that were all based on local product, and I offered 20 subscriptions. So that meant 80 meals a week had to be prepped and bagged and chilled and done everything right. I had huge tubs of ice water where I would take food that I'd cooked and put it into the ice water to make sure that it cooled down properly before I bagged it. Got a new vacuum sealer because my old one couldn't handle it, and vacuum sealed 80 meals a week. And I would put on the little bag when they came to pick them up. You either eat this within 2 days or you can freeze it and reheat it. For me to be able to do that, because I teach classes, I wasn't about a takeaway business, I had to figure out all the recipes I could make that would be delicious. They could be reheated and still taste good. They could be frozen and reheated and still taste good. There was a lot of mental whatever that went into it, and recipe testing and whatever. And launched it on a Saturday, and by the following Monday, I was able to give the Good Farmer Fund a check for, and I think it was like $1,400 or $1,600 or something like that. And it was $50 a week, which is nothing for 4 meals that are prepared from locally grown ingredients. But I wasn't interested in making money for me. I wanted to make money for the farmers. All the money went in to buy ingredients from my local farmers. What I didn't spend on local ingredients, I gave to the Good Farmer Fund. Did that for 4 weeks, and after 4 weeks, everybody's like, are you gonna continue it? And I said, no, I'm not. I can't. This is not sustainable in terms of being able to put that much energy into something and not generating any income. But that was my first thought. That was the first thing I did when the pandemic hit, was to create this new program to raise money to support my local farmers. My customers were like, Diane, you can't possibly be making any money on this. And I said, no, I'm not. But I am making money for my farmers, and that's who I really care about. Even though it is a monetary transaction, there can still be a conversation around conscious consumerism. Every time somebody came to pick something up, we would have a short conversation about, what's in the bag and we really love this and, what can I do to help? It maintained my connection with a lot of my clients, built some new clients in, and I was able to talk consistently during that first part of the pandemic about the people I was most concerned with, which were my farmers. The reason I joined EnviroStars was I was talking to someone who works at Uli's Sausage, and they said, there's this program, Diane, I don't know if you're eligible for it, but maybe you should check it out, because we found it to be a really good way of connecting with like-minded people in our community. And I said, okay, yeah, I will. And so the more I delved into it, the more I was honored to be a part of it, a part of the program, proudly displayed on my front window. There are so many people who, I use the term greenwash, their businesses that talk the talk, but they're not walking the walk. I know that everyone that's with EnviroStars is walking their talk. We're known by the company we keep. For me, it's about being able to create and find a community, a local community that also is walking their talk every day when it comes to conscious consumerism, how they're dealing with their impact on the planet and on our community and on our city and on our wastewater. All of those things are important. And I think when we make decisions as business owners, at least for me, it's really important that I consider all of those things with every decision I make with my business. And I'm really lucky. I'm the CEO, CFO, the maid, the purchasing agent, the cleaner, the chef, the teacher. I'm a one-woman show, so I get to make all the decisions here. But the decisions I make here, it's kind of like the pebble in the pond. I drop the pebble and the waves will ripple out in ways that I'm completely unaware of. But I know I change lives, and that's part of what we're supposed to do as good citizens.
All right, to wrap up then, what aspect of your business are you most proud of?
When I started the business, one of the people I respected most, who'd started a business in her midlife, said, one of the first things you have to do, Diane, is have a mission statement. So I said, okay, so my mission statement is connecting, cooking, companionship, and community. For me to be able to demonstrate how that works is the thing I'm most proud of. I've talked to people who have their husband, wife, father, whatever, has been in here. Now they're cooking with their families in their kitchens. The preparing and sharing of food is one of the ways we connect with each other and with our community. And so I guess that's what I'm most proud of, is being able to change lives for the better and to get people into their kitchens, cooking with people they love and care about.